it's got to clearly depend on how bad the shot is, though. Because if you get fouled and knocked unconscious, and then you come back,
you're just going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
If you get knocked out, that's why boxing, right?
With that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms.
It's like a big part of it is speed. Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul being taken to the hospital after the Anthony Joshua knockout while talking with Daniel Cormier. Rogan pointed out how powerful the punch looked and reminded everyone that boxing is a very dangerous sport. He explained that when fighters get hit clean at that level, the damage can be serious and long-lasting. Rogan stressed that you can never fully predict the outcome, and some injuries stay with fighters for the rest of their lives.
Cold.
He was
and then
done.
He outboxed him for the rest of the round.
How? But again, in MMA, fight probably would have been over, and he would have took less damage.
Right, but isn't that a better...
Sports doctor Brian Sutter explained the aftermath of the knockout from a medical point of view. He said the fight result was not surprising, but the real concern came after Jake Paul said he thought his jaw was broken. Sutter said a broken jaw was very possible based on how Joshua's right hand landed on the left side of Jake's face. However, he explained that a concussion was actually the bigger concern. Jaw injuries often come second to risks involving the brain, neck, or airway. He added that the violent rotation of Jake's head likely sent strong force through the brain, increasing concussion risk. Even though Jake was not fully knocked out, delayed symptoms were still possible. Jake's reaction showed he knew something serious had happened.
Outcome that we all expected. After the fight, though, Jake told Ariel Helwani that he was worried that he had broke his jaw. He said multiple times he was concerned that he had a fractured jaw. And certainly looking at this knockout punch that Anthony Joshua delivers, it is absolutely a possibility that Jake does in fact have a jaw fracture. I'd honestly be more concerned about a concussion. In fact, with most jaw fractures, the more important thing initially is to look for other injuries to the head, to the neck, to the airway. The jaw fracture potentially being there or not is going to be lower on the list often than whether there's damage to the airway, damage to the head. And so very possible to have a concussion or some residual symptoms from this, as Jake Paul's head is relatively still here. We see AJ comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms. But you can see where the punch comes in, landing square on that left side of Paul's face. Jake's reaction was pretty telling too. Right away after it, we could see him going down on the canvas here and being very shocked. It doesn't look like there's any obvious deformity to the jaw. We won't necessarily always see a deformity to the jaw, but you could tell he clearly had realized that something serious had happened there and feeling the full power of AJ's right. And finally, on this last view, we can see a little bit better the exact location where the punch comes in. We'll talk about our jaw anatomy, the different areas of the bones, but your temporomandibular joint, where your jaw articulates with the rest of your skull, is sitting right around in this area, and the jaw is roughly coming down in this orientation. And so where that punch comes in from Joshua is a little bit more kind of flush right in the center of the mandible, but also up close near.
Joe Rogan had already warned before the fight that things could go badly for Jake Paul. He explained that Jake was used to fighting older or retired opponents. This time, Jake stepped in with one of the best heavyweights in the world. Rogan said the skill gap would be dangerous and unforgiving, and that warning proved accurate.
What do you think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped.
After the fight, reactions poured in from across the boxing world. Some fans praised Jake for his courage and willingness to take on a dangerous opponent, others strongly disagreed. Luke Thomas pushed back hard against the praise. He said people were celebrating Jake just for surviving, not for actually competing. Thomas pointed out that Joshua did not fight at full intensity and clearly held back. According to Thomas, this was not a competitive fight. Jake looked overwhelmed, struggled to engage, and showed no real intent to win. From his view, the performance showed neither growth nor high-level skill.
Watched the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. I think I would say that my conclusions now still match most of what I said when I was watching on the initial broadcast, which is that Joshua, he did look a little rusty to me, I'm sorry, but he did. That Jake is, probably a little bit better than we suggested he might be. When I say we, I mean like the hardcore fight community, the fight fans, the people who work in the industry to a degree. Sometimes there is a suggestion that he can't do anything. And I would be like, well, that's a little much. He can do stuff. I mean, it's limited what he can do. It's very limited what he can do. But there is a little bit too much anger towards him sometimes, or just dismissiveness, maybe is a better way to put that. And I don't really co-sign on some of that. He's got some ability. He's not good. Listen to me very carefully. He's not good. But is he the caricature that he is sometimes made out to be in terms of his pure boxing skill? I think it goes a little overboard sometimes. But that isn't the reason why I wanted to make this video. What I wanted to make this video about is two things. One, after the fight was over, I got on social media and people were like hugely negative about the fight. And I did not think that the fight was good. In fact, I thought the fight was, like most Jake Paul fights, pretty bad, although him surviving kind of feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think
Lawrence Wacky took a different angle but reached a similar conclusion. He focused on how dangerous boxing really is. He said one mistake can end a fight instantly, no matter how famous or prepared a fighter is. Wacky called Jake taking this fight reckless. He stressed that boxing is unforgiving and mismatches are not justified just because they attract attention. He said the outcome could have been even worse. Some voices did credit Jake for toughness after it was confirmed he went to the hospital with a serious jaw injury. They focused on his willingness to take punishment rather than his skill. However, even that praise stopped short of calling him a legitimate pro boxer. Courage was respected, but competitiveness was missing.
I think I broke my jaw. We all know he broke his jaw. We all know we've seen the x-ray. There is a video of the x-ray that he showed us on his Instagram, so that was no AI. And it showed where his jaw had to be reconstructed and, wired, right? So he can't have any hard foods for a while. And again, I think Jake Paul is going to get respect for that, because it's one thing, because we all know about Jake. I think the problem with Jake was he was bullshitting us by giving us fights that we didn't want to see, for one, and for two, wasn't giving us fights most of the time of the people that could beat him. He gave us Tommy Fury, and then Tommy Fury actually beat him, which, whatever. But he did drop Tommy Fury with a left hook, so that was an impressive thing he did against the guy. Can't say the only guy now, because AJ fought him and knocked him out. But, other than that, though, fighting Mike Tyson, Anderson Silva, which Anderson Silva showed that he is still very dangerous and very, very ready at 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, what he did to Tyron Woodley was classic Anderson Silva. He picked his shots. You know what I mean? He moved with grace, he moved with wisdom, and he knew exactly what to do. And again, he should have went over to boxing a long time ago, but Jake beat him. So that just made Jake's, stock rise, right? In the sense of, hey, well, he beat Anderson Silva.
Adam Catatarel was especially blunt. He criticized how popularity now plays a major role in boxing. He argued that Jake Paul is a product of that imbalance. According to Catateral, Joshua did not even throw punches at full power and still caused serious damage. That alone showed the massive gap between them. He said if Joshua had fully committed, the result could have been much worse. Catateral said this fight represents what is wrong with modern boxing. Fighters who earn their way up struggle for attention, while internet stars get big opportunities. To him, Jake's involvement was not impressive. It was proof that fame is being rewarded more than real boxing merit.